Hi everyone, greetings from Dubai, from the COP28, the Digital Innovation Pavilion. We are having here a dense program, digital solution providers coming together. And today we are hearing now from Mariana de la Roche, Board of Directors in ADBA, member of the expert panel of the European Blockchain Observatory and Forum, member of Think Block Tank, and BC 100 Plus steering committee member. And we are of the opinion that the efforts of BC 100 Plus are very important and should be supported, and therefore we are looking forward to hear your presentation.
Thank you, Miro. And good afternoon, good morning, everyone, for whatever you are right now looking at this presentation. Thank you for your time. I just wanted to start with like a small intro of like who I am, because like I think that there is like different hats that I use. But you know my name already by Miro. My name is Mariana. Part of the board at INATPA, where I also lead the sustainability and social impact working group for the past 3 years already. And also I contribute to the different associations that you are seeing here on the screen as an expert advisor and consultant in different topics, in particular regulation and sustainability topics for the blockchain industry and for new technologies as well. But today I'm going to focus on BC 100 Plus, because BC 100 Plus is a really interesting initiative that we started almost a year ago. It started to actually respond to a call to action, and it started with the EPE think tank, who got in contact with the president of the 7070 General Assembly of the United Nations. And the idea was to try to explore how new technologies, in particular blockchain, could help us to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals and the UN Charter values. So we wanted to come together with different organizations to answer to this task. So basically, how we wanted to ask and how we wanted to reply to this ask from the UN was coming together with different organizations and trying to understand how Web3 technologies, in particular blockchain, could support the work of organizations in the development sector and in the Web3 space to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals and the UN Charter values. So the first thing that we did was to come together and try to represent a vision of the different organizations that were involved, of how we see blockchain and where do we see the potential of blockchain for the achievement of these goals is going to be. So as you can imagine, putting a lot of people in the same room and online rooms and like agree on a vision of our vision for the blockchain industry is not easy, especially because you will see the variety of organizations that we have in the steering committee. I'm going to present a slide for that so you get an idea. So this was a lot of like talking and negotiation within the steering committee members and discussions, of course, with experts coming from the academia and the different spheres that are like touching upon in the blockchain industry. So once we came to this vision, which is now the BC 100 Plus Manifesto, which I'm going to give you the link to read. We wanted to do something with this, right? We didn't want this to just like be a core theme of organization, but we wanted actually to have a community and an ecosystem of different actors that could contribute. So most of what we are doing is community building to showcase the power of the projects that are already working on the space and generating impact and are doing interesting solutions in the sustainability space, as well as recognize that there is a gap between the Web3 and the Web2 ecosystems, and we wanted to find a way in which we can bridge them so organizations in the development sector can use new technologies to accelerate what they are doing and be more effective and more efficient. So how we do this, we do a lot of advocacy, we do educational campaigns, and we do awareness raising. So we organize seminars, we do webinars, we write papers, we get in contact with different associations and trying to generate dialogue. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more of what we did. But this is the overall idea of the initiatives. So, as I mentioned, we have the steering committee that are different organizations that are leading the initiative. This is the current steering committee group. Before, we also have the GBBC and Climate Change Coalition with like Miro and Blockchain for Good. They were part of the original steering committee members. And now we switch and we welcome new members like the Ethereum Climate Platform. Basically, the role of the steering committee is to organize the activities and onboard the new members and push forward the initiative. So basically, as I mentioned before, the initiative have different goals. One of them is like raise awareness about the potential of blockchain for sustainability, and this includes a lot of education, also trying to break down the misconceptions that are around the industry in terms of energy consumption, among others. We also explore the potential of blockchain to address systemic issues, so how blockchain projects and blockchain solutions can empower organizations on the Web2 with the tools they will need to do their job more efficient and effective and faster, and even saving resources that can be allocated not to operations but actually to the implementations of the projects on the ground or the different fields that they are like working. And the other thing that we are doing is trying to identify where are the key topics in which blockchain can have an impact for the achievement of the UN Charter values. And this sounds a little bit like ephemeral, like if you wanted to call it like that, but I'm going to put you real examples of how we are doing this later on the presentation. So as I mentioned, the phase one, like we started like almost a year ago, like over a year ago, and the phase one ended in September of this year, and was mostly like focusing on the consolidation of what was going to happen with the initiative, the consolidation of the manifesto, the onboarding of the first signatories of the manifesto, and we also participate in a couple of events, as you see them here, to raise awareness and bring some attention to the initiative for those that wanted to join later on and be part of the efforts that we are implementing. So the manifesto is public, it's in our website. You can see it here. I'm not gonna actually like run through the manifesto and read it because you all have smartphones and computers, and you can go directly there and read the manifesto. And if you agree, you are more than welcome to sign and be part of BC 100 plus. We have like a lot of organizations signing super early. This was really nice because it actually proved that the blockchain space is really interesting in sustainability and social impact topics. So we were really happy to receive many applications in the first months. These are some of the organizations that are already part of the initiative. We have more than what you see on the slide because we receive applications on a monthly basis and it gets updated. But if I'm not wrong, we have like over 40 projects now as part of the initiative. So how does it work for the projects? And I think that this is really important for those that are watching and want to join the initiative. So basically, you go into the website and you read the manifesto, which is like our collective vision of the role and power of blockchain for sustainability topics. And if you agree, then you sign to be part of the BC 100 plus. The steering committee has a monthly meeting in which they review, or like we review all the applications, and we do a due diligence process to select the projects that are going to be part of BC 100 plus. And we have different categories. So we are receiving applications for blockchain projects working on sustainability. We are receiving applications for blockchain projects that are not working on sustainability topics, but are interested in see how the tools that they are developing or the infrastructure that they are producing can support organizations working on sustainability topics. We receive applications from research institutions and academia, whether they're interested or not, or like working actively or non-sustainability topics, but are interested in supporting the initiative as reviewers or contributors to some of the papers that we are writing and producing. And last but not least, we are also receiving applications for organizations completely outside of the Web3 space, so more on the traditional development sector and UN agencies that already have blockchain projects or that are interested in see how they can implement blockchain projects or how blockchain can help them with their particular missions. So we review all of these applications, and basically what we do, as I mentioned, is due diligence. Each of the member of the steering committee do their own due diligence, and then we have a collective discussion of which projects will be allowed to enter in the initiative. And the reason why we have like this gatekeeper here is because this initiative is actually trying to showcase the benefits of blockchains, and as we have like really good players in the space, there are also some projects that that can jeopardize the vision of this initiative, right? Or there are projects as well that don't have developers team in the back, or they are not actually like working on developing solutions. So we want to be super careful that the projects that are going to be in the initiative are projects that are legit. And this is also because we provide a lot of visibility for these projects. We use these projects as examples of what is out there in the blockchain space already generating impact on sustainability topics. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about this particular area in a couple of slides. But once you are in the initiative, you will receive an email welcome you, and then there is a couple of things that happen. Like every 2 months, we have a community call where everyone that is part of the initiative is invited. We invite always one project, part of the community, to present their project to everyone on that call, so they can learn about themselves and what is out there already. And we also send a bi-monthly newsletter inviting them to participate in events, in different consultations, papers, any opportunity that is out there for the projects. We also have like different presentations in different scenarios, like especially the members of the steering committee groups, such as myself, and we use those opportunities to not only present the initiative, but actually present some of the projects we believe are generating impact, and we wanted to give them some visibility. On top of that, everyone in the initiative can propose initiatives, so they can come and say, I want to write a paper about the power of tokenization. I want to explore more how to use NFTs for donations. I want to see how blockchain can just support more transparency in the operations that we're implementing, and any kind of ideas. And then we try to match the different organizations part of the initiative, and we support directly from the steering committee those initiatives. So as I mentioned, one of the things that we are starting to work is the best in class. And we already do this due diligence with the projects that are going to enter, but we also want to recognize that there are projects that, because of the impact that they are generating already, can be considered the best in class. And these are like the lighthouse projects that we want to showcase and present in different scenarios, so people see what is the potential. But to do this, we didn't want to do individual assessments and due diligence and selection processes. So what we are doing is that together with not only the members of the steering committee, but a working group that is built with organizations that are part of the initiative already, we are generating a criteria, like a set of criteria, that is going to be how we are going to select these best-in-class projects. So right now, the working group is working on like the first ideation part to select some of the criteria that we want to do, and how actually like those sets of criteria needs to be tangible and achievable, and needs to be like easy for us to prove them or accomplish the different criteria. And we are already pre-selecting some projects that might be in that direction, but this also requires more work, and we want more people to be involved, including members of the academia, to review those criteria. This is the ones that we have so far. We are also working on these with Positive Blockchain. They are members of the steering committee and they're like a really interesting organization. If you have not seen it, I would recommend you to go and check them out, because Positive Blockchain has a database with over 1,200 projects that they're also curating and collecting like over 150 data points per project. And these are like blockchain projects working in the sustainability space, and they produce also reports on what is out there. So they are helping us to set, and this is something that they're leading inside the initiative, they are setting the criteria together with the different signatories that are interested. So as you can see, these are some of the criteria. That blockchain needs to be vital for the implementation of the use case. It cannot be something that is nice to have. It needs to be something vital so we can use it as an example. It needs to have like certain level of maturity, so beyond the initial pilot or proof of concept. It needs to have like major private or public organizations involved, because this is what is guaranteeing the adoption of the project and the scalability of the project itself. We want also live projects that can be easy to replicate. So if they are open source, even better. And they need to have a development team. And this is super important because we want to prove that they have been active in the past 6 months, so they are keeping building on the project. And they need also, of course, like have like a public launch already, so the project is already live when it's selected as being part of the best in class. And of course, we promote a lot of transparency, decentralization, and as I mentioned, open source is key for us. These are not set in stone. This is the progress that the team has done so far, and this is still like in review. We are really hoping to have them ready before the end of the year, but the time is passing really fast. So this is an ambitious goal. Probably is going to be done before the end of the first quarter. But what we want to do with this also is connected to the second area that EPE and ReFi and WhatsApp are working. These are also like members of the steering committee, and they're like leading this part, and it's the part of the flagships. And the flagships are actually action plans on specific topics that we want to identify. So this is one of the goals, as you remember, it was the last goal that I mentioned at the beginning, is understand which topics are out there that blockchain can actually generate an impact. So these are like certain selections that we have right now, like rainforest, transparency in public spending, oceans, climate change, and skills and inclusion. Economic empowerment, self-sovereign identities, and food. And these are like only some that we have there. But we are like identifying constantly like where does blockchain have potential to generate impact. And basically those two things come together, right? So what we wanted to do is like have the best in class projects selected in the different flagships, and then coming together in situation rooms where we want to actually incentivize dialogue in thematic groups to see what is happening right now, what is the actual impact of the projects, and how we can scale and generate more adoption for those projects to actually have a global impact, right? Because this is a really important point. I'm going to make a pause here to talk about that, and is that we can have like really good projects, but if there is no global adoption, it's really limited the impact that they're going to generate. So if we already have projects that are showcasing a positive impact, and we see that those projects can be replicable, what we wanted to explore is how we bring this project and adapt it in different regions and topics to actually like generate global adoption and push forward actually like the global impact of the technology in that specific area. And at the end, this is what is the main goal, and that's why it's so important not only to stay inside the blockchain bubble, but actually onboard organizations on the Web2 space, government agencies, and the academia, and absolutely everyone, basically, so we can actually generate global adoption and generate impact at the end. So, because I think that is always really important to showcase examples to understand, I selected like 4 projects that were early signatories of the manifesto, and I wanted to actually like just give you a couple of words of the projects that we have there. And I actually like think that I said like 15 minutes at the end, Miro, if people has any kind of questions, so we can open the floor. But I'm going to run you to these 4 projects. I try to select projects in different regions to actually like showcase how diverse we have. So Demia is in the US, and it's really interesting because this project started it's a spin-off of the IOTA Foundation, and they started with like 2 pilots in Chile that were financed by the Canadian government. Then we have Ethics Hub, They're based in Spain, but they're operating mostly in the global south, in particular Latin America. And then we have Sustainable Mindsets. We're going to talk a little bit about this project is really interesting because they started in the US and they're moving to Europe now. And then ReFi DAO, that I think that like almost everyone has heard about them. Some of them are located here in Berlin, and we have the luck of like being able to actually interact directly with them and organize some events as well here. So let's start with Demia. As I mentioned before, Demia is a project that is a spin-off of the IOTA Foundation. It started with 2 projects financed by the Canadian government, and they were implemented in Chile. What they were doing back then was like installing some sensors in different plants and factories in Chile and monitoring the carbon emissions and the GHG emissions of the plant directly. But they not only did it via sensors, they also do like the normal manual monitoring of the emissions. And what is interesting here is that all of this information goes into the blockchain, but in collaboration back then with other projects, Dell and in the Albarium program, a project, they generated a system where they can rank the data according to how the data was collected and treated, and the process that, like the life cycle of the data. So when it comes to the platform and it comes to auditors and climate researchers, they can actually see how much they can trust that data. So this was the original project, and now that they did the spin-off, they actually like grow really fast and really interesting because they have been collaborating now with gold standards. They participated in a Google consultation for sustainability topics. They won the grant, so it has been really interesting to see how the process of this project it has been. And basically this is exactly what they're doing. So they are collecting and generating an infrastructure for data transparency and the evaluation of the data. So when the data comes into the platform, whether it's an auditor or a researcher, they can see the data, they can see where the data is collected. They even have like some really cool graphics and digital twins where they can see where the sensor is in a specific plant, but they have like all the information about the data, how it was collected, how it was treated, if it was manual, if it's coming directly from the sensor, when the sensor was reviewed last time. All the information is there. So the receiver of this information knows how much trust they can put into the data. And like I not even need to tell you like how important it is to have like this level of certainty when doing like data assessment and data evaluation, in particular of carbon emissions, because it really brings transparency and trust over the data. So the second project and is more into the economic empowerment ecosystem is Ethic Hub. As I mentioned, they're in Spain, and what they're doing is a really interesting platform that is connecting investors with the small farmers. So this part is really important, right? Because agriculture is key. And we tend to forget how important agriculture and the agriculture and the agriculture industry is. And I probably didn't mention, but I'm from Colombia. So for me, it's like a topic that is really close to my heart because we see how small farmers in remote areas cannot access the financial systems, like the traditional financial systems, right? Because they cannot provide collaterals. If they have land, the land might be in a remote area, so they don't receive a proper, like, or it's not perceived as proper collateral because it's difficult to sell at the end for the bank. They don't have any kind of guarantees to access the loan. And when they access the loan, they have like really high interest because there is risk, right? So what Ethics Hub is trying to do is like understand how to solve the issues so the farmer gets the funds that they need to invest in their land and in their crops, and they can actually start to become economically independent by working on the land and making the land productive, right? So this is really interesting because they keep this focus on the person. So they have different teams that go and talk and onboard the farmers. So it's like farmers communities that they know and they can trust that are onboarding into the platform, and then they can directly work like interact with the investors. They have also like a DeFi interaction where they're using their own tokens as collaterals, and the level of like not repayment is like insanely low. I think that is here is like less than 1% default. So this is actually one of the projects that we can see how successful they are. I think that they already distributed like over like is there as well 3.5 millions distributed funds distributed into small farmers. So this is already generating a lot of impact, and they're like scaling right now. And it's an absolute pleasure to see them all the time, how they're working and how committed they are with the communities that they are working. The other project that I was mentioning is Urban Change Protocol. Urban Change is actually like working on like changing mindsets, which I think that is really important when we talk about sustainability topics, because it comes back to the individual, right? And I got to know this project I think like a year or 2 years ago, and they were working in the US, and they were really successful in the US, and now they are coming to Europe. And basically what they're doing is like working with local communities in a way that like they generate like local tokens, the community tokens that can like that incentivize the behavioral change in the individuals. So they have community leaders that set certain goals, and then people can report or like interact with the app and report how much they're doing certain activities, and in exchange they receive community tokens that they can redeem in shop friendlies, and like shops that are connected to the community. So it's also incentivized the local communities, and normally there are like shops that are connected to the specific activity that they need to do. So for example, one of them is like how many meters do you walk, or like running, and then you can actually like track super easy that with sensors on your phone or your clock, and then you receive certain rewards. So it's actually like really interesting to see how they're doing it, because it's using the carrot and not the stick to change mindset in people, and at the end they receive a reward that will also help them to become more sustainable, or to actually like get more more motivated to keep going with the activities, because they will receive like supplies to do the activity itself. So this is like something that is one of the examples for that can be used in different settings. I remember back then they were talking to municipalities and to governments, local governments in the US, but like this can also be applicable to any company that want to just like implement like more healthy behaviors in the employees, or at the school level, or anywhere. So it's one of those examples that can be easily be replicated into other scenarios. And the last one I wanted to mention is ReFi DAO. I wanted to also like bring one of the DAOs, because sustainability also implies like change not only in the transparency and reporting, in the economical empowerment, and the change of mindset, but also on governance structure. So I think that like DAOs are going to be really interesting for the sustainability projects, and to empower actually communities to make decisions of where they want to go, whether it's in funding or in like the decisions and activities itself. And when these like models get applicable to the development sector, and you think like more like horizontal approaches and the development of initiative is really interesting. And I'm really curious to see how some of the NGOs might start to explore how to implement DAOs at the local level to empower communities. But ReFi DAO is actually really interesting project, because they bring together investors and funders with projects that are working on the sustainability space. And they're one of the most active DAOs that I have seen, and one of the most successful as well for the number of like funders that they have, and all the actions that they are implementing. As I mentioned, some of them are here, and together with Positive Blockchain, they're really active, like organizing awareness raise, advocacy, education, and campaigns. So this is one of the collective that I will invite everyone here to actually like go Google, take a look and what they're doing, and engage, because it really brings the opportunity as well to understand more the sustainability ecosystem in the blockchain space. I think that this is everything that I needed to say. So Miro might be happy because I went short. But everyone here is invited to actually join the initiative. Please apply. Here is the website. Go there, read the manifesto. Please do not sign without reading. It's really important that you actually like share our vision to be part of the initiative. And anything you need, you can also get in contact with me or any of the steering committee members if you have questions, suggestions, or ideas. And again, Miro, thank you very much for the invitation.
Hi, Mariana. Thanks for the great overview how this blockchain solutions can very concretely support the work of the United Nations and the Sustainable Development Goals. This is very valuable to have concrete solutions, something that people don't think blockchain is something abstract, but something very concrete to create impact for the local and global common good. That's very valuable. So I wish you all the best for your further work and stay tuned, stay connected, visit also our other events that we are having from the Digital Innovation Pavilion at the COP28 UN Climate Conference in Dubai. All
For
the
sure.
best. Bye bye.
Have a nice day.